All right, so here's our first question. And like as you can see here, I've already kind of done step one, which is cover up your answer choices. So I've covered up the answer choices. And from there, we're going to move on to step two. So step one was cover up the answer choices. Now step two, we're going to read that. So which of the following is the most likely cause of this patient's condition? So we're looking for a cause of a condition. So that would be something to kind of highlight. So now we're going to move on to kind of step three. Figure out how many steps we need to answer this question. Well, if we look at it again, this is probably just a one-step question. They're looking for a cause of a condition, or to maybe make that a little simpler, diagnosis. So this is probably just talking about a diagnosis. So probably a cause to the patient's condition, or a diagnosis here, to help us kind of get the right answer. So now we're going to move on to step four, which is read the question one sentence at a time. Once again, when you're doing this, try to kind of think about each part as we're kind of going along. I'll try to maybe pause a little bit along the way to allow you to think about each thing as we're going through it. But just on your own when you're doing this, remember, pause, look back, think about it as you kind of move on. So first, we have an 11, our question itself. We have an 11-year-old child with a 1-month history of bluish gray skin discoloration and a history of dyspnea, as well as decreased physical activity over the past few weeks. So itself, maybe within the sentence, we have he's 11, a 1-month history. He's bluish gray, some decreased physical activity, maybe some dyspnea, and it's been going over a few weeks, and they already gave us the month. So so that would be something maybe kind of think about for this sentence. We won't do that for every sentence, so it takes a little too long, but I think you get the point there. The skin discoloration is appreciated diffusely over the trunk and the lower extremities. The child's birth was unremarkable, and his hospital records document normal findings on physical exam at birth. Review of systems is negative for changes in urine or stool output or fever. Blood pressure is 110/72, his pulse is 96, respiratory rate is 20. There's moderate clubbing of the distal extremities and a continuous murmur heard best at the left, second, and third intercostal spaces. Pulmonary examination demonstrates clear lung fields bilaterally without wheezes, rales, or stridor. CBC reveals a white count that's 8,200, hemoglobin 17.3, hematocrit 54.2, platelet count 225,000. All right, so now that we've read that, read the question itself and gone through the lab values. Now, when you're looking at the lab values here, you're just going to kind of include those in that step 5. Read each sentence. Read each sentence line by line. Think about it. So just looking at these lab values, thinking about them. For me, the things that jump out is a little polythymic, especially for like an 11-year-old. But that does go along with some other things, and we'll talk about that later. So now we want to move to the read the last sentence again, which is which of the following is most likely cause of this patient's condition. And we're going to try to think of some answer choices. So, mentally, I want you to kind of think of some answer choices. Hey, what could be the answer here? What are we potentially dealing with? What would I expect my answer choices to tell me? Is there one that's jumping out at me or not jumping out at me? Or, is there anything I need to think about to eliminate an answer choice? Then from there, we would uncover the answers. So we've done it. We've uncovered our answers, and we can see all this here now. And then now we're going to look at each answer choice, starting at choice E and moving up. So for choice E, we have truncus arteriosus. Do we think that is or is not the right answer? And we have D, we have tricuspid atresia. Yay or nay, or do we feel like that one is or is not? And we have C, transposition of the great vessels. Then we have B, tetralogy of Fallot. And then we have A, patent ductus arteriosus. All right, so that is our question. And I think now we're going to open a poll. We want y'all to pick what you think.
All right, I'll open the poll for you guys. Just give me a minute here. All right, go ahead and put in your answer. We'll leave it open for about a minute or so again, because it takes a while to tabulate all the results coming in from everywhere. So if you've already made your choice, then please be patient and relax. All right, looks like we've got about half the respondents in. We'll leave it open for a couple more seconds. And if you don't have an answer, just take your best guess. Just remember on the USMLE, there is no penalty for guessing. So you should never, ever leave a blank question or a blank answer space on the exam. All right, looks like we've got 70% of the folks have answered. So let's go ahead and share the responses. All right, so looks like the crowd thinks the answer is patent ductus arteriosus, and in the number 2 spot is tetralogy flow. So the answer is patent ductus arteriosus, as most of you guys were thinking. So let me move on.
All right, great. So yeah, patent ductus arteriosus is the correct answer here. And now let's kind of just review this question together. So we've talked about our 7-step process that we're going to use to answer these questions. And this is just going to be just a quick review of kind of the key points that this question did bring up. So first off, just kind of going line by line so that we are discussing everything together. We have an 11-year-old with some blue-gray discoloration. If you're wondering what is that, that'd be cyanosis. And what do we notice about the cyanosis? Well, it's mainly on his trunk and his lower extremities. That's kind of weird. It's a little different or new. This actually has a name. It's called differential cyanosis. And that's just kind of a key word, something to remember. So differential cyanosis. It's associated with patent ductus arteriosus, and just kind of something to remember there. So what else does it tell us? Well, they tell us that he's got a little clubbing, which is also kind of odd for an 11-year-old. And they also tell us that he's got a murmur. So if we talk about some clubbing, some cyanosis, basically other things that are associated with signs of hypoxia, then that should make you think that maybe, hey, this kid's been hypoxic for a while. It's not something that's happened overnight. I know he's only had like a 1-month history of not feeling so well, or some dyspnea and some decreased physical activity, but something's been going on longer than a month. So we kind of have that in the background there. And then they tell us that he has this murmur. So now we should be thinking that, hey, does he have some cardiac cause of chronic hypoxia? And your cardiac causes of chronic hypoxia, you think of your cardiac shunts, which there's not just a ton of those. So those are all good to remember. It's kind of one of those memorization lists. I'm not a big fan of memorization, but it is an important, just kind of important knowledge you just have to know as you're kind of moving through medicine. Some other stuff that they tell us is this H&H is elevated, which has the hemoglobin hematocrit, which, like we said, kind of goes along with polycythemia, which this would be a secondary polycythemia, secondary to his chronic hypoxia. They don't give us a O2 sat, but his O2 sat would be low if they did give us that. Which that could be another question. What would you expect his O2 sat to be? And then they give you arrows, something like that. So all that to say, we've got this stem that's basically telling us, hey, we've got a chronic hypoxic kid. He probably has some form of a cardiac shunt. And then they give you a little bit of the description about the murmur. And they tell you it's this, continuous machine-like murmur, or continuous murmur, best heard as left second intercostal space. And then that can give you some information there. Those continuous murmurs are associated with your PDAs, ductuses. But if you didn't know that, that's okay. We can still figure out the information. So kind of talking about our shunts, there are basically two causes. There's early shunts and then there's late shunts. For your early shunts, there's 5 big things that you need to remember. And these are usually happen at birth, or kind of in the fetal stage. And they're usually called fetal causes of cyanosis, or early cyanosis. And they can be remembered with the 5 T's. And I think I've got a little box here to help you visualize it. Yeah, there we go. So early cyanosis is caused by a right to left shunt, and just think about that. So when we say right to left shunt, we mean blood on the right side of the heart is going to the left side of the heart. So basically it's bypassing the lungs, which would make sense that, that would be leading to hypoxia. And they can be remembered with the 5 T's. And those 5 T's are truncus arteriosus, transposition of the great vessels, tricuspid atresia, tetralogy of Fallot, and then total anomalous pulmonary venous return. The thing that you'll notice is that of these answer choices, there's a lot of them here, but none of them are right. And the main reason is because he's way too old to have any of these diseases. And like I said, this would be causes of early. So if this was a 2-month-old or a newborn, someone that's just extremely young, kind of still in that newborn phase, sub 1 years old, this would be things to think about if it was causing hypoxia. So moving on, now we have our late causes of cyanosis. These are originally left to right shunts, so meaning that the blood is going from the left side of the heart to the right side of the heart. And due to the chronic pressure and volume overload that's going to place on the right side of the heart, you're going to get some right ventricular hypertrophy, and it's eventually going to lead to shunt reversal. And if you remember what that shunt reversal is called, that's your Eisenmenger syndrome. And then when it presents with Eisenmenger syndrome, that's when you get your cyanosis. So these are your VSDs, your ASDs, and your patent ductuses. So if you just knew this information right here, you could get this answer right, and you could actually get this answer right before you uncovered your answer choices. So you would read down through here and say, oh, it's one of the shunts. Oh, he's a little older. So this is either going to be a PDA, an ASD, or a VSD. And then you would say, okay, I remember my early causes, which are all the, and then they'll look at your answers and go, hey, look at that. They only gave me one of the late causes, and they only can give you one of the late causes. If they give you an 11-year-old, they can't give you 2 unless they're going to give you more information to actually choose between ASD and VSD. But in this question, they didn't give us any more information. So in that case, there's only one answer choice you can pick, which is a PDA.